Supply chain struggles are continuing around the globe, with almost every company mentioning the impact in some way or another on their earnings conference calls. And according to RBC, those struggles may not let up anytime soon, at least in the United States. Joining us now is Michael Tran, head of digital intelligence strategy at RBC Capital Markets. His research analyzes the pace and direction at which the gridlock and the ports is trending. Michael, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Digital intelligence, take us through a little bit about what that means. What kind of data are you looking at? Is it the traditional port blockages and everything else, or what else is kind of shaping your view on what's happening with supply chains?
Sure. Thanks for having me, Dom. Look, our approach with digital intelligence strategy, which is a brand new research vertical within RBC, where the idea is we look at thematic research powered by data science and alternative data. Look, our approach towards looking at major macro issues is anything but normal. So, for example, when you talk about the ports, what we've done is we use geospatial analytics to monitor 22 of the world's largest and most influential ports. What we do to try to understand what's happening at each port is we effectively use a geofence, or we draw a boundary around the port, the offshore port. And then with that boundary, what we effectively do is we leverage or monitor ship transponders, so AISs. And what we do is we look to see when they enter our boundary, when they are ultimately discharging at the port, and when do they leave the boundary. And effectively, what we've been able to do is monitor the pace at which ships are moving, navigating in and out of our boundary. We call this the time of turnaround. And I think what's really important is with the port of LA and Long Beach, which is, of course, the major port that we're all so focused on, what we're seeing is that it's taking roughly 7 days to turn that ship around. And versus pre-COVID, that's about 3.5 days. So it's taking twice as long for each ship to really circle through the port. And the last thing I'll add here, Dom, is we're able to leverage foot traffic and understand geolocation to understand how many people are actually at the port. What we've seen is that the port of LA and Long Beach, we've actually seen a pretty significant rebound in foot traffic, which really gives us confidence that this is not necessarily a worker shortage issue. This is a real consumer demand issue in terms of the port backlog.
So if it is, I mean, the Biden administration has made a lot of comments about how they're trying to solve these issues, that traffic is getting back to normal. What do you see trend-wise? Is it moving in the right direction? And if so, how long does it take for us to get through all of these issues?
So such a great question. Look, I would be cautious in calling for a real trend or timeline right now. And the reason why, Dom, is look, back in the fall when supply chains were all the craze, we all really thought that things would linearly improve. And I mean, why wouldn't we, right? To your point, number one, we saw Biden call for the ports to open 24/7. Number two, we also all thought that as COVID starts to taper, more longshore workers would come back to work. More workers means more efficiency, you move more freight. And number three, post the Christmas surge in buying, we all thought, of course, if you're buying less stuff, there's just less ships to show up at the port. Now, if you have that trifecta, naturally a logical person would think things would improve or loosen up. Now, what we're seeing is that some of those things are really rare red herrings. And the reason why is the port is just so overwhelmed due to the massive inflow of demand for consumer goods.
Sure.
Now, I want to be clear, this is agnostic of COVID. I mean, our math is showing that these ports were just never built to handle this level of ships or this demand for goods. So hypothetically, if consumption were to remain as elevated at current levels, i.e. demand for goods continues this strong, again, hypothetically, these ports would just never clear.